burnout or doing a little bit too much, or I need to find more time to enjoy my mid 20s or whatever.
Like, what should people know about starting a brand from scratch?
I think that's because they're lazy or they just don't understand what the next steps they need to take. No, you just need to find what your purpose is, because that is what's going to motivate you.
So who's somebody that inspires you? Welcome to everybody watching. This is the first episode of Born to Dream podcast. This is something I've been, thinking about and working on for a minute. And this podcast is for people who are dreaming, chasing their dream, or already living their dream. And I'm here to share people's stories because at the end of the day, I'm a storyteller. And for this very first episode, I wanted to bring somebody who's very close to me, someone I consider a brother, someone I consider a genius, and a fashion guru, Trendy.
I appreciate the introduction. Happy to be here. We're here on Thanksgiving with the fam.
Facts.
Starting off the day right.
Facts with the family. We working, no days off. We here Thanksgiving, Christmas, it don't matter, So tell the people about yourself, your age, where you're from,
Trendy, otherwise known as Josh, whatever you want to call me. 26 years old, from Medford, Greater Boston area. Haitian American, got to represent those. I'm a fashion storyteller, designer, community member, all the things,
So you just recently debuted your new brand, Few and Far. So, tell us a little bit about that. Like, what's your vision for it?
Yeah, I'm excited to roll that out. That's a huge passion project of mine. I put out some pieces earlier this year, but really Few and Far Studios is centered in community. My goal with it is to, in my personal brand, I've been putting on a lot of designers, or I would say shedding light on designers that I feel like need more. And I want to create a platform that they could actually land on, that will give them the resources that they need to take things to the next level, and not just give them exposure, but some actual tangible support. So that's pretty much what my goal is with Few and Far Studios. And next year I'm going to be rolling out something really big to help the community and continue going on from there. But as far as it looks like right now, I just have some pieces out that people are tapping in with, purchasing some of my hats, which is great. But I'm excited for what's next to come.
Nice. I'm excited too, bro. Like I said, you're a fashion genius, you're a guru.
I appreciate it.
And I know Few and Far is gonna take off, So what got you into fashion? Like who inspired you,
Kind of going back to me being Haitian American, you know how that goes. You got, plus I was raised in a house with all women, so they take what they wear very seriously. You're going to church twice a week. You got to dress up, you got to put it on. And I think naturally from doing that as a young kid, I over time started to grow a love for fashion. So I also went to a school where you were almost pressured to really put that on too. So I think all the influences around me, whether it be my family, friends, school, environment, etc., just kind of instilled a love for fashion in me. And now it's developed to a point where I want to instill that same love for fashion in other people. And for those that already have that love within them, I want to give them the exposure and the platform that they need to thrive,
Word. So what do you think was what was the moment you realized, yeah, this is my lane,
To an extent, I'm still trying to figure out what my lane is. Even when I first started Few and Far Studios, for example, my goal was to just sell products similar to what I was doing before, but there was something in me that felt like I wasn't doing enough, or I wasn't doing what God intended me to do. So I started to really look deeper within myself, and that's when I started to create content and started to shed light on, other designers. And at the time, we live in a society where everybody's just focused on themselves. So a lot of the influences that you could imagine me hearing is no, just look, why are you promoting other people's brands? You got your own clothing. I'm like, no, there's something greater that I'm trying to do here. And I realized that I wanted to create a community centered around fashion and just creativity in general. And, I could still sell my product. I'm passionate about it. I like selling clothes. I like making clothes, but that's not what I was put on this earth to do. I was put on this earth to do a lot more than that. So
So who is somebody that inspires you?
I have a lot of inspirations. I think I keep a really great group of friends around me, and for one reason or another, all my friends, I look up to them. So I would say that because I don't really look at anyone on the internet and find inspiration because I don't really know them. I see what they're doing and I like what they're doing. I think it's pretty cool depending on the person it is or the designer or the community leader or whatever. But I'm more inspired by the people I actually have a direct connection with because I understand the trials and tribulations, also the achievements that they have. So I would say like a lot of my closest friends I'm very inspired by,
Yeah, I'll
like
be on.
yourself as well.
Yeah, I'll be
So
honest, bro. You inspire me, bro.
word,
Every time, there'll be times where, I might be questioning myself, and it's like you call me perfect timing. It's like,
word,
God sends you my way, and then we talk, and then just hearing you speak, inspires me to keep going, to keep, keep pushing, keep dreaming. Like to even do this. You're one
word.
of the people that I talked to about it first, and you're on the first episode, so you're definitely some of that. We inspire each other.
Facts, accountability partners,
Yeah.
man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So what motivates you? I know you said one thing, your friends, they inspire you, but what else motivates you? What keeps you motivated?
I think just realizing and further understanding my purpose, like when I came to, it's something about when you start something and you think that's what you want to do, and then you feel like there's still some void that needs to be filled, and then you start to procrastinate. But that's because that procrastination happens because you're not actually doing what you're intended to do. But most times people think that's because they're lazy or they just don't understand what the next steps they need to take. No, you just need to find what your purpose is because that is what's going to motivate you. But I don't rely on motivation only because there's sometimes you wake up and you don't want to do nothing, but the purpose is going to give you that drive to do it regardless of whether you're motivated or not. So I try to focus more on, what is my purpose and really try to fine tune that. And the only way I could do that is by getting closer with God because I've been able to, in building my relationship with God, especially this year, be able to like really understand what my purpose is. And now that's coming to fruition. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
That's facts, bro. Because it's like even me, like once I started asking like God and like just questioning myself, like what is my purpose on earth? Like what is my purpose in this life? That's when like things started to, you could just start seeing like the little pieces connecting here and there, once you start to question yourself. So you're a hard worker, you work hard. Like you're probably one of those people, you're probably one of the people that work the hardest that I know. So like what keeps you grounded? What keeps you, level headed with everything going on from like fashion to work to just all the craziness of life?
I say I always understand job's not finished. I can't ever get complacent. And kind of going back to the whole purpose driven mentality, there's so much more to accomplish, but also I know where I'm going and I just want to enjoy the journey. And that just keeps me, I guess, with all the things I do, I don't see that as like daunting. I don't see that as like different tasks. I see that as different ways that I'm fulfilling my purpose and getting closer to my goals. So a lot of times people might think that I'm like getting close to burnout or doing a little bit too much or, I need to find more time to enjoy my mid 20s or whatever. But, you know, you understand like trying to set yourself up, trying to build that foundation for the future, but there's more people that you're serving. It's not just about yourself. There's other people that you're supposed to touch. So I think whenever I think about that and I'm like getting lazy or getting complacent or I want to take a couple days off or a couple weeks off, whatever, I think about that and then I just completely shift my mentality around how much work I'm doing. So that's what pretty much grounds me and allows me to continue to work as hard as I do. And honestly, like working hard is relative. There's people who are really putting in pain every single day. They'll look at you like, bro, what are you doing? They'll look at me like, you're not really working that hard. Whereas other people are telling me I'm working too hard. So it's all about perspective at the end of the day. And we have so much more that we're capable of doing in our minds, both, emotionally, spiritually, but also physically. And the more we push that, the more we're going to be capable of doing. So yeah.
Okay. So like what's something that you would tell your younger self? Like, we're still young, but like a couple years ago, like looking back, like what's something that helped you leveled up, or level
Yeah.
up to like where you are right now?
So I would never take this advice, even if I were to go back to my younger self, because I was so hard. I'm still hard headed to an extent, but I have more of an open mind. Back then, I thought I needed to plan every single step of the way, but I give myself a time limit or some type of limitation in the planning that I do around the initiatives that I have around myself. You feel me? Because you can get to a point, and I got to that point so many different times where I would overplan and overplan and overplan, and I would just never do it. And I would have the best plan in my head that would never get executed. So I would tell myself back then to just like, if you have the idea, execute it and figure it out along the way. There were times where I did that out of just being naive, and those were the times where things worked out the best. So now I'm at a point where, okay, I have an idea, I have an somewhat of a plan. Obviously, you don't want to do things loosely, like that's not the message, but create somewhat of a plan and then figure it out and plan along the way as you're executing. And I feel like I've been getting back to that mode just this year, and I've been watching things fall into place that the way that they should. So that's something I would have told my younger self. But like you mentioned, we still young, we still get into it. It's never too late to start, especially for anybody watching. So yeah,
It's
just
actually,
execute.
I was actually gonna ask you, like, like, what should people know about starting a brand from scratch? But I guess I feel like you kind of answered with all that, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And
yeah. You never have all the answers. Recently, I led a workshop at the Possible Zone, which is an organization that I used to go to when I was younger, and I wasn't really taking it serious back then. It was like for inner city kids to have something to do after school, but it was more so to like turn them into entrepreneurs. Wasn't really taking it too serious, but I was able to. Now I'm on the advisory board there, and I was able to go back and teach some of the kids, and I saw myself in them because they weren't. Some of them weren't taking it that serious, and I'm like, yo, the resources that y'all are getting, this could really change your life, even if it doesn't feel like it. And I gave them like a book with a framework called like the ARC, which is essentially how to use the resources that you have at your disposal to make whatever you want to make of it. You don't need to have all the resources. You don't need to have all the money. You don't need to have all the knowledge. You don't need to have the best plan in the world. You just need to have what's in front of you, and you can make that work. That's the reason why there's so many millionaires and billionaires, and they have this got it out the mud story. Whereas you see the person who had it all, they only get so far because they're just stuck in that planning mentality. You know what I'm saying? That person who got it out the mud, they didn't even know what resources were available. They just worked with what they had, and then they continued to build that mentality. So when they got more to work with, they were able to be nimble and be strategic with those resources. So that mentality goes a lot further than the resources you have with it. You can have all the resources around you with the wrong mentality and go nowhere.
but that's facts, bro. Because even with this, like, you could plan, you could have all the ideas, but if you don't do it, execute, if you don't start it, like, you don't have to wait for something to be perfect. Just start it, and then just learn as you go.
Facts.
So, same thing, like, on Instagram and your brand's Instagram, TikTok, recently you've been blowing up, and obviously, you didn't start off with all these followers and all these views. You just start pushing out your content. So, like, what have you learned from that experience, from starting off, like, getting basically like no views to now, like, you're blowing up, you're starting to get brand deals and all that stuff. So, like, what have you learned from that experience?
I learned so much, but the biggest thing is, you know how people say, I forgot who said this specifically, but embarrassment is the cost of success. That is a fact. I've been embarrassed a lot of times in my life, especially like, the different ventures I've started, but this was the most humbling thing because I just don't like putting myself out there and speaking in front of a camera. Like, I'm not a super social person, but this is like the most social or front facing thing that you could do, putting yourself in, especially the type of content that I make. But I'm just so passionate about fashion, and I just wanted to try it out and see where it would go. And I think that audacity, and that was my word of the year that I wrote down in January as well, just audacity, being audacious and just doing whatever comes to mind. And as I was consistent in doing that, things started to pick up very quickly, which I'm happy about. And it just goes to show, like, yeah, you could post 10, 20, 30 times, which is exactly what happened to me, and have only like 5 views, but it only takes a few people to start to pick up and see your worth and see what value you're bringing to whatever industry or niche that you're making content for it to start piling up, and the numbers add up even if they're small over time, and eventually you'll be at a place that you never thought you could even get to, because God's plan is always bigger than yours.
Facts, facts. I say God is always on time.
Facts.
But what helps you stay creative? Do you take from other brands or designers, or do you take from real life?
That's a good question. I think real life is the biggest inspiration. The only time where I'm more inspired by other designers or brands is the story, the real life story that they have behind themselves. So like I watch a lot of interviews, read a lot of books about, people and their stories, etc. And that's what typically inspires me. And then the brand comes second, just because I understand the connection between them and what they're putting out. So I'd say real life, whether it's mine or others, that's what inspires me most.
So what's your creative process, bro? You know,
I don't know if I have one. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but all I can really say is I do a lot of research, and within that research, I typically get a spark that I immediately act on. And if I don't act on it immediately, it'll probably never happen. So, when the times where I'm most creative is when I'm like, searching for not anything specific, but I'm just researching because I'm passionate, and something will come of it, and I'll just create from there. I don't really have like a concrete process, and I don't know if that's something that I want. But I do know that if you don't have certain systems in place, then that could be very detrimental to your whatever path you're going down. So I think that's something that honestly that I just need to work on. But I don't really have a creative process.
okay. And do you feel like Boston or the Boston area or Massachusetts and like whole, like, do you feel like we're supportive to creatives? The
I
culture
think
that we have here.
I think that's been changing. Boston has that. People have the narrative that Boston doesn't support other creatives, but that's not entirely true. There's a lot of creatives that have made it out of Boston, or um, and that's also the other thing. Make you blow up in Boston, then you just leave, so you literally make it out of Boston. But I think there's a lot of creatives that just don't have the light exposed on them because we don't have like the infrastructure to support, or areas where certain artists or creatives can go to and thrive and get those resources. And um, that's exactly what I'm trying to build with, or what I am building with Few and Far Studios. Not just within the Boston area, but really make it a global thing. But of course, have more of a focus, especially in the beginning, on the Boston area, because we need that. And there's so many creatives, so many talented people that just go underlooked every single day within the Boston community, and it's time for a change. But we've already been seeing that change a lot too. And it's like, platforms like this podcast, this is exactly what Boston needs to be able to hear the stories behind the people who are making things change in the community.
So what do you want to see change in our area for people like us? Like, what change do you think like this area needs, like what Boston, Massachusetts needs for people that look just like us?
Oftentimes we speak about us not supporting each other, and usually that's from a creative to consumer relationship. But I don't think there's enough collaboration amongst creatives, and that's something I would want to see, because there's so many up and coming creatives, whether it's in like similar industries and niches or not. I think there's more opportunity for cross collaboration, because when you look at other creatives in different states, they're all like creating these groups, and they're supporting each other. And then the consumers are able to pick up on that energy and that collaborative effort. But we don't really have that, I'd say. I think there are a lot of creatives in the Boston community, but for the most part, it's pretty individual.
So when did you realize that fashion was more than just creativity and fun, but it was also a business? You could also make some money from this, make some profit.
We wear clothes every day, can't go outside without them. So I think I realized that since I was young, I just didn't know how to actualize it. But it's definitely something that I've always understood and picked up on. And I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like for me because I definitely would say I'm not motivated by money first. I have my purpose in front of me, and then, the money comes. Money comes when you are aligned. Um, and that's something I want every brand owner, designer, creative to understand. And that's essentially why I want to create that platform that they can land on.
So what was the hardest part about launching your new brand, Few and Far?
The hardest part was the transition that I'm talking about now because it happened after I had already launched. I did the whole, um, uh, me and my team, we did the launch event at Few and Far Restaurant. It was an amazing launch event. You was there, you was supporting as well, and helping out with the event. Um, and we released the hats. Cool. At that time, it was more so we're launching product. From that, or since then, we've shifted to being more community focused. So I kind of had to let go of how I thought things would develop for me from a business and entrepreneurial perspective, and just like me being a fashion designer, I was going to school and like learning how to, you know, I was taking pattern making classes and fashion design classes, which is all useful and all things that I still do on my free time. But there's just so much more that I want to do, and coming to terms with that. Like now I'm at peace with it and I'm happy with it because I'm thinking so much larger than I was before. But to do that, it gets kind of uncomfortable in the beginning because you kind of have to like shake off the belief that you had before. But now that I can see clearer, I'm just like I'm even I'm trying to think even larger and larger and larger as time goes. So I don't know how far this is going to develop, but I just know that I'm committed to what it's looking like right now.
So how has God and your faith in Him helped you through like everything that you've been experiencing this year, or maybe I would say the past couple years, or just in life in general?
So remember when I was saying when we was talking about um, over planning,
Hmm.
it's like the way I interpreted me over planning was a lack of trust in God's plan because I thought that I had all the answers, and I thought that if I were to sit down and do what I think is best, that's what would provide or create the best results. But in reality, when I got in closer alignment with God and I got um, clarity from God, I was more confident in just acting on it. And that's when I got the results that I actually wanted as opposed to just doing it myself. So that's exactly how, yeah, I think just acting quickly and, trusting your heart and trusting the message that you get from God is a symbol of having more trust in Him.
Mm. I truly believe that too. Truly believe that too. Once surrender and listen to His voice,
Yeah,
everything is gonna fall into place. You know.
100%.
So, what keeps you from giving up when you hit a setback?
I think it kind of goes back to purpose, really. Every time I hit some type of roadblock, I'm like, okay, what did I start this for in the first place? And then it just kind of reinvigorates whatever drive that I had when I wasn't experiencing that roadblock. Or even when you don't have a roadblock, if things are going so well for so long, you get comfortable, you get complacent. So in that sense, you still need to focus on, all right, what's my purpose? I need to stay hungry. So on either end, you're still dealing with the same thing, but you need to attach yourself to that purpose for you to stay driven. That's that's my strategy, and it's been working as of recent. So um, I don't think that's something I would change.
I love that, bro. I appreciate you, coming on here and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. So, before we wrap up, what's next for you? Is there anything that people should be looking for?
Yeah, I think Few and Far Studios, we have a lot in store. Me and my team have been working really hard to build something really great that we're going to showcase next year and continue rolling after that. But it's centered on community. It's going to give people a cool experience from like a consumer side, but also give creatives the platform that they deserve. And it's something that I believe nobody has really seen before. So I'm excited to roll it out, just kind of like teasing it right now. But yeah, Few and Far is going to be, there's a lot in store there. So I'm excited to take the next steps with that. And for any designers, creatives, brands, etc., that want to tap in with me, I'm very open for any collaboration. That's my thing. That's my thing. I'm really focused on my content and you know, using my platform for what it's supposed to be used for. So yeah, I'd say those are the two main things that I'm focused on right now. Yeah.
And where can people find, find your brand and shop the
Yeah.
collection and, just
Yeah.
follow your journey?
Yeah, so personal brand, Trendy Josh underscore, underscore on Instagram, 2 underscores on TikTok, and then fewandfar.studios on Instagram and fewandfar-studios.com. So that's the brand, that's the personal brand as well.
Yeah,
But
I'm gonna put that all up
yeah,
on the screen
that's
and the
a-
bio and everything.
yeah, for sure.
But I appreciate you coming, bro, on Thanksgiving of all days, But I appreciate you, brother.
For sure. Likewise.
It's a wrap of the first episode.
For sure. I'm honored.
To many more.
I'm honored.
That's it, bro.
Calm.
Yeah. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
Now, no more waiting, just straight to it.
Yeah, bro.
Straight to it.